Much of what is now known as Denver was occupied by the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. In the 1850s, a series of treaties were established with tribal leaders in the U.S. Army, which paved the way for the creation of a mining settlement that would later become Denver. Denver would then grow into a commercial hub where miners, flocking to the newly discovered gold in the Rockies, could get supplies and spend their newfound fortunes. Over the next century, Denver continued to grow in population and wealth. This growth radiated outwards from the Platte River, extending further into the plains to the east. At the beginning of the 20th century, the aviation industry was born, and several privately owned airfields were built in the area. The mayor at the time, Benjamin Stapleton, saw a city with growing industry and a need to export goods, so he decided that Denver needed a commercial airport. Stapleton and his administration, including the Improvements and Parks Department manager Charles Vail, began to weigh approximate locations of the airport. The selected location was on the eastern side of Denver, close enough to the city, yet farther out into the plains where runways could be built. The new airport, named the Denver Municipal Airport, opened on October 17, 1929. One administration building, which was adjacent to a dirt runway, supported 3 airlines: Mid-Continent Express, Western Air Express, and U.S. Airways. These airlines primarily delivered the mail through 30 takeoffs and landings a day. In the 1940s, Buckley Air Force Base and Lowry Air Force Base were built to support the war efforts. Air travel was seen as patriotic and heroic, and many people yearned to take to the skies. Aviation technology advanced to support passenger travel like never before, and Denver's central location positioned the city to be a hub of commercial airline activity. Routes were planned between Denver, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. A new control tower was built, and modern lighting was installed on the runways. In 1944, the Denver Municipal Airport was renamed after the mayor who had advocated for it to be built, Ben Stapleton. This would later cause controversy amongst Denver residents for decades due to Stapleton's proud membership in the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s. By this time, the airport had doubled in size. 50 flights took off every day, over 5 times what the airport had originally been built for. At this time, Stapleton had 4 runways, 2 flying schools, 6 hangars, a post office, fire station, control tower, lounge, and a cafe. 5 years later, Stapleton saw over 1 million passengers pass through the gates. To further accommodate this growth, the terminal was replaced and 2 new wings were added to the administration building. Advances in aviation technology led to the next generation of jet engine air travel. These airplanes required a much longer runway. In 1962, Stapleton added the first jet engine runway in the area. This continued Stapleton's success and allowed 500,000 more people to pass through the airport annually. Over the next couple of years and $56 million later, the control tower was expanded, 2 new concourses were built, and the terminal was expanded. In 1964, the airport changed the name from Stapleton to Stapleton International Airport to reflect the magnitude of travelers who passed through the gates. Although Stapleton had made so many improvements on the airport just a few years prior, the limited space was not enough to keep up with the demand for increasing jet engine air travel. Surrounded by a growing city, Stapleton did not have the land available to keep up with the demand. In 1985, Denver's Mayor Pena announced the decision to build a new airport east of Denver in Adams County, and construction soon began. On February 28, 1995, a plane took off from Stapleton International Airport for the last time. Demolition of various structures followed, starting with the terminal, administration buildings, and runways until there was very little left of the iconic Denver airport. The Stapleton International Airport sat vacant for some time, waiting to be redeveloped. The land that housed the former airport presented a unique opportunity as one of the largest infill developments in the country. The Stapleton neighborhood had an opportunity to create mixed-income housing, city hubs, transportation systems, and a variety of services for the residents. In 1989, a group of 35 citizens formed to plan for the future of the Stapleton neighborhood. They sought community input for 2 years and developed a plan with this input. In 1991, the Stapleton Tomorrow Plan was adopted by Denver City Council and emphasized economic development, positive impacts on adjacent neighborhoods, enhanced environmental quality, high standards of urban design, educational and cultural opportunities, and the generation of revenue to support airport revenue objectives. In 1993, the city and county entered into a partnership with the Stapleton Redevelopment Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit, to oversee the development. Together, the Stapleton Redevelopment Foundation and the city and county established a technical consultant team with a variety of skills made up of architects, planners, civil engineers, and transportation planners. All of these stakeholders worked to expand the initial plan and account for various market factors, ecological sustainability, and more detail around job creation, affordable housing, and design factors. In developing the updated plan, a community outreach process was used. Approximately 100 community meetings were held, along with 4 general public workshops over 6 years and additional presentations and public hearings during the adoption plan. In 1995, the Stapleton Tomorrow Plan was replaced with the Stapleton Development Plan. The Stapleton Development Plan outlined the phasing for the Stapleton neighborhood, as well as various 30 to 40-year goals for the neighborhood. This plan was ambitious in many ways, and it conveyed a clear desire to use the neighborhood as a proving ground for some of the newest and most promising planning concepts. As an illustration of this, the plan used the United Nations definition of sustainable development as inspiration for its own practices. Additionally, the plan identified the importance of using sustainable practices, efficient use of resources, and the reduction of environmental impacts caused by development. Still under construction, Stapleton has quite a bit of history that still needs to be written. Stapleton is today a thriving community of approximately 24,000 residents, with more than 7,000 single-family homes, 2,000 apartment units, 390,000 square feet of office space, 2.5 million square feet of industrial flex office space, 2.5 million square feet of retail, more than 1,100 acres of parks and open spaces, and 15 schools. The airfield and runways of the past have been replaced by tidy residential districts, parks, and paths. Residents of Stapleton love their network of neighborhoods and all of the things they have to offer, but outsiders have some concerns about the suburban feel and accessibility for a variety of households. Data from 2016 depicts the Stapleton neighborhood as a well-developed, relatively wealthy, and racially homogeneous area. Stapleton is mostly white, 82% according to 2016 data, with Hispanic and Latino embedded. Affordable housing is a focus of the Stapleton Development Plan, but at the higher end of affordability, and the income gap risks widening. Stapleton has not achieved the label as housing for all and seems to be moving backwards. As of 2010, Stapleton had some of the highest rents in the Denver metro area, and residents of Stapleton were 20% less likely to be experiencing poverty than their neighbors directly adjacent to them. When looking at the surrounding area, the data indicates that Stapleton's increased racial homogeneity is not necessarily unique. Many of the nearby census tracts have also experienced an increase in the population that identifies as white, and the same can be said for Denver County as a whole. Moreover, the areas around Stapleton have high rates of poverty. This might be due to a mix of factors, including displacement of residents from the urban core. Speculatively, this may also indicate that the Stapleton area was previously considered to be an undesirable area to live in due to the proximity to the airport, as individuals living near airports are often subjected to unique nuisances such as increased noise and traffic. Stapleton's story is one of a complete transformation of a 4,700-acre tract Denver city land over less than 2 decades. From concourses to communities, Stapleton has served as an innovative development that aims to address some of the current and future issues Denver faces while being a vibrant and promising community to live in.